Hexed is somebody wishing me evil video. So I can't even remember the first time that I really was convinced that I had a curse on me. The first time that I actually went to somebody who confirmed it, I was 17. But my entire life, for the first 17 years of my life, I felt like there was something wrong with me. Like last picked for the kickball team, nobody wanted me on their team because I was small and I wasn't good at sports. Nobody wanted to, like I had friends, but it was always clear that somebody else was more important than me. So like let's just say that like one of my friends and I were hanging out. If somebody else came along that was more popular, my friend would leave me and go with the more popular people. It was notorious. It happened to me constantly. It happened to me constantly. I mean, I remember being in sixth grade. I've maybe told the story before. My best friend and I sat together. Our desks were together, and then there was a group of four girls, and then another group of four girls. Well, I was out sick one day, and when I came back the next day, my friend had moved to one of the other groups, and I was sitting by myself. This was I was notorious for this. So I really felt like at some point, by the time I turned, I guess I was 17, I was a senior in high school. I felt like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Like, what the fuck is wrong with me? That, not that nobody likes me, because I was liked, I had friends. It just was like, there was always somebody more important, somebody cooler, somebody that, I don't know. Like, I always felt like I wasn't enough. So when I was 17, I went with my good friend of mine, who I'm still friends with to this day. And if he wasn't with me, I probably would still be paying this woman. So what happened was, I was 17. Okay, it was me, my guy friend Mark, and then my other friend. Now my other friend happened to be gay. So we think, right, looking back on the situation, she wasn't like somebody that you would peg necessarily for being gay. So like when the woman started talking to her about a guy and she was like, I'm gay, like we think that that's why this woman just kind of let her off the hook. Like there was nothing wrong with her. She was like, oh yeah, okay, you're fine, whatever, and let her off the hook. My friend Mark, she told him that he had a chakra off. That's what she told him, that he had a chakra off, and that's why things didn't pan out for him the way he wanted them to. For me, what she told me was that I would never be happy because when I was born at the wrong time and my aura didn't fully close. That's what she told me. This is what she told me. Now, my friend was sitting outside and it was like a room like this with just a curtain, and he was on the other side so he could hear what was going on. And she said, and then there was an old woman in your life that wished you evil and turned your aura black and you'll never be happy. That's what she told me. Now I was 17. So I had a crush on this guy in high school who paid me no attention. And she said that he was my soulmate, but I would never be with him because of this black aura, right? So, it made sense to me because I'm like, my whole life people have treated me like shit. Nobody ever chose me for anything. Like I had like groups of friends. Like I remember like my one closest friend, if she had other friends that would show up, she would ask me to go home. Like I would never be included with them. And I would just go home. I'll get to that. Okay. I would just go home. I would call my dad and have him pick me up. And he would be like, why are you coming home? I just dropped you off. Sometimes I would be embarrassed and I would just like walk home and I would just take my time because I was embarrassed. I didn't want my parents to know that like everybody left and they didn't want me to go with them. So, my friend said to me, he heard her, and I hear him starting to laugh, and I'm like, oh, he's never going to bring me back here again. And at that time, I wasn't driving, so I needed him. She said to me, she goes, you got two choices. You can come back every week. It'll cost you $20, and I'm going to give you rituals to do that'll help you remove the hex. She's like, because the other option you couldn't afford. So I was like, well, what's the other option? Because I was willing to get the money somehow. I was working. I would have figured it out. And she was like, no, it's too expensive. You'll never be able to afford it because it requires gold. Full of shit is what she was. Anyway, So I went back once, and then he was like, I'm never taking you back here again. This is bullshit. She's just trying to like rob you blind. And he's like, it's not true. This is not true. So, and over the course of my life, I've had several people tell me that. But the woman that reads my cards now has assured me that those people are just looking for money and that it is not true. There is no hex on me. This is what she has told me over and over again. And I've been seeing her for like 20 years. She said, if you feel like there's negativity around you, all you really need to do is get a white taper candle and a cup of water. Light the white candle and say, surround me only with positive energy. Let the candle burn for a couple of minutes, extinguish it, and just make sure that you change the water every day. You don't want to keep stagnant water around. You want to make sure it's always fresh. So as life moved on, I had plenty of issues with being rejected by men, being in situations where like everybody thought, oh yeah, he'll be into you. Yeah, you guys would make a great match, and then like the guy went like running for the hills. You know, like I could, terrible, and like I would think to myself, all right, look, not everyone's gonna like you. We know that, but how could I have this effect on everyone? So in my day, I've done a lot of research into this stuff, and I've even consulted people like psychiatrists, therapists, spiritual gurus. I mean, I've done it all. So I'm telling you, there's no curse on you. And if the cards are suggesting that there is no curse on you, it's not a curse. This is what the problem is. A lot of times, this is what's been taught to me. There's always like the forbidden fruit. And I explained this earlier. Like, Avery's got 3 remotes that are children's toys. She doesn't want those. She wants the remote for the TV. Okay, so she's a pain in the ass. I have to keep it hidden from her because she destroys it. So we're in Florida at my father's house, and he actually has a TV remote that doesn't control anything, but it's a real remote. She doesn't want that one. She wants the one she can't have. That's just what it is. We want what we can't have. So I think that there's a combination of things that go on for people that feel like they're constantly being rejected. Their energy of that person is too stable, too honest, too responsible, too secure. So it's sort of like pushes people away sometimes, right? Because it's like they don't really feel like they have to work for anything because you're kind of there. You know what I mean? Now, the other thing is that, and the way this has been explained to me, and it makes sense, although I've heard it different ways from so many different teachers, therapists, psychiatrists, whatever, and it got me really aggravated because for a long time I didn't want to believe it, but there is something to it, to being attracted to people that don't want to be with you, because when they pay you attention or when they include you in something, it temporarily heals the wound of being rejected. So I never believed this because for the most part, it only happened to me, it happened to me with friends growing up as a kid. But as I became an adult, I found that it happened a lot with men. And then I was in a situation where I realized that I was really attracted to people that treated me very poorly. Not even just men, people. So as time went on, right, and I started to really look back at things, like I remember saying to one therapist, that's ridiculous. So you mean to tell me I was only attracted to him because somewhere I knew psychically that he wasn't going to be into me? And she was like, yeah, there was something about him that was unobtainable. And when he paid attention to you, it temporarily healed the wound. It has nothing to do with him. It has everything to do with you. And it's hard to understand that. But we have soul wounds that we tend to be very attracted to similar situations. That's why, like, you'll hear somebody say all the time, somebody always, whatever guy I'm into, they always choose somebody else over me. Or every time I date a guy, he never marries me, but he marries the next girl after me. Or it's the same old situation again. Like, you hear that all the time. We relive the same situations because we're attracted to the same thing. You will not be attracted to the same thing if you heal those wounds. And everything starts with me. not anyone else. There, it hasn't. That's why I get so frustrated with the twin flame nonsense. It's like he's my twin flame. I've been told he's my twin flame. No, that's not true. What's true? What the truth of the matter is that you're very attracted to somebody that you can't have for whatever the reason is. And if they pay you a little bit of attention, or if the phone rings and it's them, or if they're nice to you for a week, it's a temporary band aid that makes everything else feel okay. And it has nothing to do with them, it has everything to do with you. When you start to heal all those wounds, you don't find those people attractive anymore. You start to see them for who they are. I don't want the person that's inconsistent. I don't want the person that doesn't know what they want. I don't want to be with that kind of person. So I'm not really attracted to that person. I'm attracted to the temporary healing that they do. You know, it's like similar to like going out and getting drunk. It feels really good in the moment, but it doesn't feel so good the next day. So that's the same thing with these people. So if you feel like you keep getting rejected, it's because you're attracted to people that can't give you what you want, because when they pay you a little bit of attention, that temporarily heals it. So you have to really start with yourself. Now, how do these things happen? Are we born with them? Do we come into this world with them? All those things may be true. Were we abused or mistreated as children? I think that's part of it. You know, was somebody not nice to you? Here's a perfect example. I have told this story over and over again. What happens to me all the time, if I make plans in advance, it doesn't matter who it is, those plans get canceled. Now, I could say to somebody tonight, you want to go for dinner tonight? And that'll happen because it's right now. But it's like, hey, you want to go to the beach next Tuesday? Yeah, we'll go to the beach next Tuesday. And one thing or something or one thing or another will come up and it won't happen. This happens to me all the fucking time. And it's not with one person, it's with everyone. And no matter who it is. One time I was supposed to go to the beach with two of my friends that I worked with at A&P. A fucking hurricane came in. Hurricane Danny came in. I'm not even kidding you. So we couldn't go to the beach. Another time I was supposed to go to Woodstock with one of my friends. It poured so hard that day that Woodstock, you're not going to go there in the rain. You're just not. So that got canceled. Then there was another time I was supposed to go. Going to the beach gets canceled every time. Almost every time I plan to go, something happens and that gets canceled. And it's not the same person. So it's not like we can say, oh, John is unreliable. It's everybody. It just, things come up. So I brought this up with my friend Lori. I did one of, like, she offers questions, like you can write her a question and she'll get back to you with an answer. If you go to her, I think it's her Facebook page, Light Insights. The information is there. I don't know how much the questions, I think they used to be $40, I think. Anyway, whatever it is. So I wrote to her once and I wanted to know, why does this keep happening? Why is it that every time I make plans with somebody, it doesn't matter who it is or where we're going, it gets canceled? And what she said to me was that it could be that as a child, somebody spoke it over you. And you've carried that around with you through life. So I was thinking about it. And I remember I took ice skating lessons when I was a kid. I was really little, like 3 or 4 years old. And I remember one time being really excited to go to ice skating lessons. And my grandfather was taking me in his Nova. And the Nova broke down. And I didn't make it to my ice skating lessons. But the funny thing about that was that they made it up to me and they took me ice skating on the weekend. Excuse me. So I don't know if that started it. It was like being disappointed for that situation. And then that is the beginning of what started me always being constantly let down every time I looked forward to something. Because when I started to think back to my life and like really go back to when I was as little as I could remember, that instance popped up. Now, cars break down all the time and shit happens all the time, but maybe that's what started it, like getting used to being let down. Now, who knows? Maybe the car broke down and I got upset and my mother was like, this is life, it happens all the time, get used to it. Like maybe she said something like that, and then that's what I took on. Like, this is life. this is what happens all the time. Get used to it. And maybe that's how it played out in my life. And so up until this point, where I keep getting let down because that's somewhere in the back of my subconscious and I'm putting it out into the universe without even realizing it. I mean, could that be possible? It makes sense. It makes sense because you know when kids are crying or they're throwing a temper tantrum and they're, oh, it's not fair. And what do you say to them? Life's not fair. Get used to it. So does that maybe go into your subconscious and then you kind of replay that over and over again, like Groundhog's Day? Maybe. And it's easy to see it when it's not with matters of the heart. But for some reason, when it comes to romantic partners and romantic situations, we have such a difficult time getting past it because it hurts so deep for most people, not for everyone. Some people snap back pretty quickly and they move on to the next thing. A lot of people feel like they get stuck or they can't move on or they want to know why. Why don't you like me? Why don't you want to be with me? Why don't you give me a chance? And I've been in that situation myself before. And I told the story about Matt and Sarah. I told the story about, yeah, I mean, how many times it's happened to me. So I totally understand it. But when you start to heal some of those wounds, like why not me? And you start to heal that, you don't find that person attractive anymore and you don't want to be with them. Like now, if Matt knocked on my door today or even 5 years ago, I would be like, I don't think so. I'm done with that. There was a situation just a few years ago that happened with me and just friends, like yoga friends, where I really wanted to be friends with these girls. And I don't know, I felt like, not all of them, but I felt like the ones that were meaner to me, if that makes sense, I wanted to be friends with them more. I don't know if that makes sense, but and I didn't realize it until I started to look back on it. And I was like, you're really attracted to people that treat you like shit. Why? Why are you so attracted to people that treat you like shit? Like, why do you want to be friends with these people? and and then I started to get it, and I was like, because there is something to the fact that when I am accepted, it kind of heals that soul wound, and you kind of feel a little bit like, okay, maybe I am part of the group, maybe they do respect me, maybe I am accepted. But you're not. And you know what? When you look back at it, you don't really want to be friends with those types of people anyway. I don't want to be friends with people that are mean. I don't want to be friends with people that exclude people. I just don't like that. I don't like making somebody feel bad. But yet, I like people that make me feel bad. So what is that? But it would make sense that that's what gets reflected back in my life because that's what I'm attracted to. Not so much anymore because I think I've done a lot of work over the years on that kind of stuff. But and it's not to say that I still don't have wounds and I still don't get upset about things, but I think that a lot of me being overly nice, me being overly considerate or, wanting to fit in or trying to be part of the group, I think it made me less valuable to them. Any group, whoever it was. And I think the same thing with some of my relationships I've had with men over the years. I think that being, overly honest and it's okay that you let me down, it's okay that you didn't show up, it's okay that something else was more important. Fuck that. No, it isn't. It's not okay to fucking let me down. It's not okay, and I don't stand for it anymore. But there was a time where I gave everybody the benefit of the doubt to the nth degree. Well, they don't get that anymore because I don't care anymore. And it doesn't have anything to do with the spirit that's around me that is making people do this to me. It has to do with me and things that were inside of me, like, and I can see it, like I can see it with children, like my nephew Nicky. Things bother him, I mean, he's human, but he has confidence that I didn't have as a kid. You know, like if somebody yells at him, he doesn't get insulted. He doesn't really care. If somebody yelled at me as a kid, if somebody yelled at me now, I get upset and I will cry. But he's just got a thicker skin. It's just how he is. It's just who he is. Maybe it has something to do with his astrological chart. Maybe it has something to do with genetics. I don't know. But he has a thicker skin. Things don't phase him the way they phased me when I was a kid. And I feel like my older nephew is a little bit more like me, where I've seen him get insulted before. But you know, there is something to the person that is sporadic, or you never know whether they're going to show up, or feeling like popular people don't always show up when they say they're going to show up. Like, think about that. Like, if somebody was having a party in high school and you were waiting for the most popular people to come to the party, sometimes those popular people don't show up, but yet we still want them, we still crave them, we still want them to be there. Oh, so and so came to the party. Who gives a flying fuck if they came? In plain English, who cares? But for some reason, certain people came with like this popular air, but they weren't the best people. They usually weren't people that were as nice as the rest of us. So why is it that we wanted those kind of people around us? You know, it's like, how many times is somebody in a relationship with somebody and they are being treated like absolute shit, but yet they won't leave the relationship and they keep hoping that this person is going to change? That person isn't going to change. That's who they are. They're going to continue to treat you like shit, and you allow it. Now, the moment you stand up for yourself, they may leave, they may not be around, but do you really want to be with them anyway? And if the answer is yes, why is it? And it's not, the answer is not because they're your twin flame. That's not the answer. The answer is because they're temporarily healing a wound inside you, that when they show up and they're nice to you for 5 minutes, it seems to make everything better. So I've already talked for 22 minutes and I don't want to bore everyone to tears. But I've been through this sort of shit throughout my life. So I feel like I can speak on it from experience. And if you look back on your life, not just with being rejected in romantic situations, because those are only the ones you're paying attention to, but this has happened with other people throughout your life. I guarantee it has. It's happened with friends. It's happened with family members. It's like a classic. It's like a classic situation. So I had been talking to Lori again, and I don't remember what we were talking about. I can't remember, but whatever it was that led us to this made so much sense. She said, think about this. How many times do you know a single parent, it's usually a single mom, but not always, where they do everything for their kid? They do their laundry, they feed them, they do their homework, they put them in the bath, they make Santa Claus come, they do everything, right? But the kid treats that parent like shit, and the dick bag that shows up every now and again, once in a blue moon, the kid thinks that that person is the absolute best. I mean, we've seen it happen all the time. There is something to craving that person that is an asshole. And I'm not saying that you should go around being an asshole, but what I'm saying is if you look at it and you broaden the horizon, and not just look at it like this is what happens in romantic relationships, you may realize that it happens in a lot of relationships where you give too much and you don't get a lot, and you don't get enough back. Or if it's not happening, it's because you honestly don't care about those situations, because if they're not wound healers. You know, if your best friend isn't temporarily healing your wound, then you may not care. If that person treats you like shit, you may just walk away from them. But there is something to being rejected by people that makes us crave those people that reject us. And it can be very frustrating, especially if you're dealing with a situation where you're being rejected by somebody who is being rejected by somebody, like a third party situation where like somebody is being rejected, and then when they get rejected they come to you, but when the other person shows back up they don't want to know you anymore. Like those kind of situations tend to happen. And it could be quite complicated. Like it could be several links to that chain, because we all have wounds and nobody likes to be rejected. But it would be really easy for me to say, yeah, you got a curse on you, you have a hex on you, go find a witch doctor to pray over you, and it'll cost you $7,000. But you know what? That's not going to help. It's not going to help. And I used to feel like at some points, I used to feel like, well, I'm just going to pay this person to do something. Even if it doesn't help psychologically, I might feel like I did something, right? Like it's almost like putting your mind at rest. Like, okay, I paid this person to remove the hex, so now things will be okay. And I would feel like maybe that's going to change the way that I feel. And if it changes the way that I feel, then it worked. But it didn't. And I think a lot of this stuff starts from within, like who you're attracted to, why you're attracted to them, and how far back it goes in your life. Was it something that started in childhood? Probably. Were you rejected by, a parent? Were you treated horribly by a parent? That kind of situation, you may feel like I'm hardened to it, I'm over it, it doesn't affect me anymore, but it could be affecting you. So it's very simple. The remedy is very simple. All you need to do really is just, you say things like, I am worth it, I am lovable, I am worthy of love. Ooh, excuse me. And if you say it enough times, you'll believe it, because our minds are malleable. I keep saying that. They're malleable. That's why, like, if you ever go and see like a motivational speaker, when you leave, you feel like $1 million, like you're on top of the world. It doesn't last that long, like it may last for a day or so, where you're on this high, because your brain, has been pumped with all of this information. It's the same thing with religious leaders, politicians, because they're getting into your brain, and the brain allows that. You know what I mean? So that's why, like, you can do that to yourself, but for positive things. Like, I am not attracted to people that treat me bad. I'm only attracted to people that treat me with the utmost respect. Saying things like that will really start to reprogram your brain. But it's very interesting how many people suffer with the same things. Like, we're all the same. So everybody's been rejected, everybody's been hurt. Nobody hasn't. Some people want to put forward the face like they've never been hurt or they've never been rejected, but that's not true. Everybody has. And the more that you realize that everybody goes through it, it's not just you, even though it feels like it's you, or feels like nothing is ever going to change. Eventually it does, if you do the work, and it doesn't take that long. You just have to really be consistent with it. And when you have these negative thoughts, or you feel like, God, I must have, like, the devil must be standing over me because I just can't seem to have anything happen that's good for me or that I want. It's not. It's because the things that you want or that you're craving are not necessarily what is best for you, and you're only attracted to it because it's filling a temporary void. It's like craving chocolate cake. You don't need the chocolate cake. The chocolate cake isn't good for you, but you want it because it tastes good, and it tastes good temporarily. It tastes good for a few minutes, but if you eat that whole cake, you're really going to not feel good after. And that's what these types of people do for us. And the thing is that they have people like that in their lives too. We just don't see it. And those people, like I said, it's like it's chains deep. But when you start to work with healing all of those wounds, it does start to go away. It just takes a little bit of time. But once you heal it, you're not going to be attracted to those people anymore. I promise you that. It's just, you have to put the work in, and you have to really believe that this is not some kind of a hex or a curse or a demon or the twin flame that's supposed to treat you like shit because that's what's supposed to happen. That's not true. That's not true. People say things like that, and then you pay them a lot of money to fix what's not really broken. And I can't stand behind that, because I've had it happen to me so many times. I didn't marry the guy I was in love with at 17. Here's a newsflash: I was never really in love with him. I didn't know him. I wasn't with him. I was in love with the idea of him. That's what I was in love with. I was fascinated by him. Did I think he was attractive? Yes, I thought he was attractive. But the idea of what was going on in my mind about him and the person he really would have been had we been in a relationship were two completely different people. I know that for sure. I know it for sure. So sometimes, like, you just need to step back from the situation and and like put some perspective. And sometimes, it's not the easiest pills to swallow, but we're in control of a lot of things, and we're in control of the way people treat us. And if someone's not treating us right, or we feel like we keep getting rejected, take a step back and see what it is that could be going on inside you that you're calling in those situations. It's like calling in situations that I'm always going to fail in. Like I've said this before too. Like, some people are just winners. Like, they're winners. They work hard. They get what they want. I'm not talking about love relationships, because I don't believe that you can force somebody into loving you. You can manipulate somebody into being with you, but that's not love. That's manipulation. But like, some people always set themselves up to win. Then there are some people that are always a victim, and you might even know some of these people, like somebody that is always got the short end of the stick. Like somebody, like, I know somebody who's very close to me that's always a loser. Like, that's he's a loser. He's always a victim. Nothing ever works for him. He always he's just a loser, and it's sad, but he chooses that. He chooses to always be the loser because he's more comfortable being a loser than he is a winner. He wouldn't know what to do with being a winner. And some of, but he can change that. Everybody can change that. Everybody can change who they are, and say, I am not going to be victimized by this situation. I'm not going to be the victim here. I am not going to be rejected here. I'm walking away from this before it gets to that point. I'm not, I am not dealing with this anymore. But for some reason, a lot of times, like, we hope, we pray, we want things to be different, we kind of hang in there a little bit too long. That's why I'll say, you may have heard in the live streams, I'll say, give it 6 months. If nothing changes 6 months to a year, walk the fuck away, because if it hasn't changed, it's not going to change, and you'll be sitting here 6 months from now with the same question. And what's going to happen? Like, how long does it take? When is somebody ready? It's like, if you give somebody too much, they'll just take as much as you give them, and then they won't give anything back. Relationship goes out of balance, and then that's it. It won't function. It will not function. You cannot be the only person trying to cultivate a relationship. It won't work. I don't know if this has helped, but like, from my experience, from someone who I feel like I've suffered from a lot of rejection in my day, and I feel like I started to take back control when I started to, like, put myself first. And you guys know, like I say all the time, I have issues with some of the law of attraction teachers and some of the things that they're teaching, because it seems like it's really out there. But, and I like to be a little bit more realistic, but some of it has been very helpful. Excuse me. Some of it has been really helpful, like, not allowing myself to be the victim anymore, seeing the situations for what they are, looking at things realistically, accepting things for how they are. Like, all of that is law of attraction stuff. Accept where you are. Like, this is where I am right now. Um, but I have the ability to change it. I have the ability to change a lot of things in my life. Some things, like that. Some of the things, like controlling what other people think or what other people are going to say to me, I can't really believe that. I just don't really believe that. Maybe it's true, but I don't know that I believe that. I haven't seen it strong enough in my life for me to believe it. And the reality shift kind of thing, I kind of have a hard time with too. Because, like I said, I like to be a little bit more based in reality. It's like, is he calling? Does he call? Does he want to see me? Do we go out? Okay, things are moving forward. But I'm not going to tell somebody, if you haven't heard from somebody in 6 months, I'm not going to say, well, just imagine that he's going to call you and tell you that he's madly in love with you, and then believe that that's going to happen, because I don't think that's going to happen. Could somebody come back? Of course, people come back all the time. But you have to realize that the person that's coming back is coming back as the person they left. They're not coming back on a white horse with, magic. They're coming back as who they are when they left. And chances are you're going to go right back into that same old broken relationship. So that's something else to think about. But I think that the main takeaway of all of this, like, do I have a curse? Do I have a hex? Is there a spirit controlling my life? I don't believe that that is what's happening. What I believe is that there are deep soul wounds that we're carrying around and we're looking to heal them. And these situations that we're calling in are they're just affirming what we already think about ourselves. Oh, I'm not worth it. So I'm attracted to this situation that makes me feel like I'm not worth it. You see, I'm not worth it. It's just like the red bus. If I say, oh, did you see that red bus? Well, that red bus may have been there every day for the last 10 years, but I never noticed it until you pointed it out. Now I can't not see it. It's that kind of a thing. It's like it's been there the whole time, but you're not realizing that you're the one that's cultivating it because you keep putting it out there. I always get rejected. I always get rejected. I always get rejected. So boom, here comes somebody that comes in that's going to reject you. And if you start to flip the script a little bit and say, you know what, I call the shots. I'm going to be with who I want to be with, and I don't want to be with that person. I don't want to be with somebody who doesn't answer the phone when I call. I don't want to be with somebody who doesn't return the text messages. I don't want to be with somebody that I have to wonder how they feel about me. I don't want to do that anymore. I've done it. It's over. Like, it's lost its appeal. I don't want to wait for the phone to ring. I don't want to do it anymore. And when you start to make those decisions, you'll see things in your life start to shift. It takes a minute to get there, because I think sometimes we really hold on to things that aren't working because we have hope. We hope that things are going to change. But sometimes you just have to make a decision to, you know what? Or like there was somebody recently that I was reading for that was really frustrated because it just seemed like she was getting a lot of dates, but nothing was really like moving forward. And I said to her, I'm like, you could take a break. Just take a break. Stop doing this. Just stop. Stop asking. Stop looking. Just go about your business. And then we'll see what happens. Give it 3 months. Give it 3 months and see how you feel. Because sometimes you just need a break, and sometimes it's okay to just take a break, and not always be trying to like manifest things and bring things in, and why isn't this happening? So all that stuff starts to build a lot of resistance. But I think like I keep saying, I feel like I keep repeating myself. I feel like less people are really suffering from being hexed or being cursed or having spirits that are preventing them from anything. Sometimes it's the people that we're choosing, the situations that we're choosing, and bad luck. Sometimes it's bad luck. Sometimes it's planetary. There's planetary reasons why things don't work out. What's happening in your fifth house? In my fifth house, I have Uranus and Pluto. It's a tough fifth house. It's not easy. I've had a lot of ups and downs in my love life over the years. That's a planetary thing. It's not because of a hex, a curse, or anything else. It's because it's planetary. But at some point, you should get past it. So sometimes, like, that's what's going on. It also could have something to do with, like, your solar return. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it. But the bottom line is that nobody has terrible luck always forever unless you think that way. If you're convinced that there is something wrong with you, or you're convinced that you have a hex on you, then that you're going to have a hex on you. And I've told this story before. I worked with this girl. She wasn't a girl, she was a grown woman. I don't know how old she was. I would say she was probably, I would say maybe late 40s, early 50s. I'm not even kidding you. She reminded me of, if you've ever seen Splash, the receptionist that kept getting struck by lightning. That's who she reminded me of. This woman, I can't even tell you, gets off the bus, she twists her ankle. Walking down the street to get to work, a tree branch falls off and hits her in the head. She's got to get stitches. Her bedroom goes on fire. She rolls out of bed and bangs her head on the nightstand. She's got to get I mean, you've never seen someone. You don't know how this person has not wound up like having like an anvil fall on her head like in the cartoons. She just could not get through a day without hurting herself. But that's all she always said. Well, with my luck, I'll get hit by a bus crossing the street. Oh, with my luck, a piano will fall on my head. With my luck, well, and that's what she kept cultivating. So that's what she focused on. Like that was who she became. I'm not even kidding. She came into work one day with a bandage wrapped around her head, and it was like, "What the fuck is happening to you?" All the time, it was something, and it was legitimate. She wasn't making it up. She wasn't looking for attention. She really got hurt. But like we used to use her as an example, and we were like, don't be like her. Like, don't keep chanting to yourself that you have bad luck, because you're gonna have bad luck. Don't keep telling yourself that you have a curse on you, because then you're going to feel cursed. Rejection is a part of life, and sometimes it's because we're calling in these situations. And I've done it to myself. I've lived through it many times, and there have been some situations where we're so frustrating. It's so frustrating. Like, I felt like I would be such a good partner to some of these people, like from my past, like especially with my friend Matt. I thought, and he would be like so downright rude to me, like, and say terrible things to me, but yet I still wanted to be with him. I still like, why do you even want to have this person in your life? For what reason? He does absolutely nothing for you. Why? For what was so attractive about him? I don't know what. The fact that he was mean to me, like that made me want to be with him more. I mean, but that doesn't have to do with him. It has to do with me. Why did I want to put up with that? Why did it take me so long to see him for who he was? Go be dysfunctional with someone else. You're not going to be dysfunctional with me. I don't need it. And it's not because like there was a hex on me. It was because of the person that he was. And I could have put an end to it a lot sooner, but I kept hoping that something was going to change, and nothing changed. Until eventually it just got so bad that I walked away from it. And thank God that I did, because all right, anyhow, this video has been 40 minutes long, and I probably bored you all to tears, but I hope that I got the point across, and I hope that it made some kind of sense, because I feel like the power of suggestion is really strong, and I don't want people thinking that they have some kind of a hex or spirit that is making them get rejected or being, because that's not what's happening. It's not. It's just, you can control this. This is in your control. Now, on the other side, if you want to do the candle thing, light the white candle. It can't hurt. The worst thing that's going to happen is nothing. The worst that's going to happen with the white candle is nothing will happen. So I would do that because it can make you feel like you're doing something. But I wouldn't go to anybody for hex removal. I wouldn't pay anybody. No crazy women and with bizarre botanicals. I wouldn't do any of that stuff because it's going to cost a lot of money and it's not going to fix the problem. The problem is inside here, and we fix it ourselves. There is no demon. There is nothing. It all starts with us. Anyhow, I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.